Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. It is your friendly executive cat herder, Marissa Friedman. I hope that you are all doing well today. Now, some of you know I have been doing spotlights on really kind of awesome businesses that I've been meeting through my time working with Connect All at the Jacobs Center. And one of the things that really hit home for me about today's guest on the live stream is healthy eating, right? I think for most of us, over the past year, we kind of have this rush of everyone trying to cook and be at home. And then all of a sudden, right, real life kicks in and we're working from home and we're sitting and we're not moving. And in my instance, right, I have some interesting health challenges that have come up. So what I wanted to do was to bring on Sonia, number one, because I think it's really important for business owners to get on camera and talk about their businesses and brands. And a lot of the times, I also think that so many of us skim past this information. It's not a humanized thing, right? So when we think healthy eating, we're probably thinking about things like oh, healthy eating is expensive, or oh my gosh, like Whole Foods is overpriced, or Sprouts, or we start thinking about these things. But what I really want you to focus on when you're coming into today's live stream is thinking about, number one, there was a statistic that was out and it basically said that sitting is the new smoking. Sitting is the new smoking. And what I thought was really interesting about that was, okay, if we're working at home all day, we're on meetings all day, we're sitting, we're not necessarily standing, what are things that we can do that are reasonably cost effective to implement into our lives and to also teach our children? I remember being a mom and, my daughter ate organic because I made all of her food, and then I was eating like Taco Bell or McDonald's or whatever I got through the drive-through. So I am going to bring on our guest for today, Sonia Cervantes, who is so gracious enough to just spend some time with you guys today, going over, really things that we can do to make life easy. So I'd like to welcome Sonia. Nice to have you. So nice to have you here.
Thank you, Marisa. Good morning, everybody. I really appreciate being here, and thank you very much for always being so supportive of local businesses, but small local businesses.
Yeah, I think for most of us, I mean, we're both Latina, right? So we know like that, Latino food typically, can be a little bit heavy and very starchy, although not all starches are bad. So, take us back a second. I want to learn about you and your background. I know that like most people, you have a background in this work. And I think it's really important to differentiate what you're doing versus kind of what everyone else is. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your background, Sonia.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so basically, I'm from Mexico. I'm from Tijuana, actually. And as I was growing up, I love food. And till this day, I describe myself as a foodie. And that's okay because food is good, right? But it's what you eat, really. I was a little overweight kid and I struggled with weight. I love my Mexican food, and my mom, God bless her soul, right? Back in those days, I'm talking about the 70s, it's like a chunky kid is a healthy kid. And now we've gotten a little bit more away for that. And it's not about aesthetics, really, it's about health. So growing up, I had those weight challenges. Also, I worked for large corporations for 25 plus years in a very, very fast-paced environment. You just describe it, right? Corporate world. You get home, you have no time to eat, or even at work, out on traveling, you name it. It's just very challenging. Even if you try, it's challenging. So I experienced a little bit of that as well, how to keep healthy when you are busy and you're traveling, or you're right now, we're all sitting at home. How do you do it? It's really definitely a challenge. I developed chronic colitis back in my 20s because, I used to go out and eat tacos. I got sick. They gave me medication. It's a trickle down effect. Then the medication kind of did something to my gut bacteria. And long story short, I developed that. So that kind of pushed me, like you said, we all have a story. That kind of pushed me to research, what can I do to make myself heal? Then, as I was growing up, both of my parents were aging, hardworking people. My dad was working here in Orange County, and he was looking forward to retirement. And unfortunately, by the time he retired, his health declined. Same thing with my mom. So my dad had prostate cancer, and he developed other illnesses like kidney disease. And then my mom, unfortunately, developed diabetes and senile dementia, and they both passed. But I've always wondered, was there anything that they could have done preventatively to live a better quality of life? Probably, you know, something related to lifestyle, something that you can control aside, the medications and things like that, which, they come in
Yeah,
place. But
everything.
what can you do,
I think
right?
everything that you're saying is so important because I also happen to be Pacific Islander. And so I've done studies myself over the types of food that Pacific Islanders are eating, right? So a lot of spam, rice, really like unhealthy fats and unhealthy processed meats into the diet. And then you look at the statistics of type 2 diabetes. And so, this combination, I think, right, of a pandemic, family experience, and wondering what were the different triggers that we could pull with health, and looking at food as almost medicine for the body, right? And I think for most of us, this past year, Sonia, was a rude awakening, right? Now, really quickly, I wanted to say, I think you said kind of, from what I did on my research on you, you had worked for Fortune 500 or 500 companies for more than 25 years in tech sales, right? And you
That is
kind of
correct.
saw
Yes.
this opportunity, right, to kind of look at this chronic related illnesses and kind of just being sedentary. And I think a lot of that, it's true, right? When I am out, the joke is when we're at a Starbucks, we're watching everyone else walk by while we're sitting down with a 1,000 calorie drink and a donut, right? So I think that there's something to do with movement. I think it's a cultural understanding of movement and food and diet of exercise. But I think what your story really resonates with a lot of people, right? Most of us know someone that's sick or ill or maybe even overweight. And I think that's one thing that I know it's been a very sensitive topic as we talk about COVID. But what we did see was over a certain age, actually across all age brackets, right? The statistics said that if you were overweight and you got COVID, you had a potential opportunity that you were going to be hospitalized. So I think this combination and this conversation that we're having is coming at the perfect time, Sonia. So one of the things that I saw, that I was moved by was that you really wanted to learn more about this prevention and lifestyle changes and working in maybe some underserved communities. And also, I think you mentioned that for most people, right, when we look at a working parent, they're trying to make life happen. But forget even just parent, single people at home, right? I go out
Correct.
because I remember being single. I went out all the time because I didn't want to cook for one. And now you see this increase in meal prep companies and all this stuff. And I think there's this illusion that it's very expensive to be healthy. And I think it's just about making better choices, right? I've made a choice I don't do the over sugary drinks, or I do sugar free, and I swap out dairy for another alternative, and I get a smaller size because you know what? I would get the bigger size and I wouldn't have it. But let's talk about that because I think one of the things that I saw is that you really were talking about this financial hardship and food inequality. And that's kind of something that I had never really explored. I had heard of things like food deserts. I had
Hmm.
heard of things, that you had mentioned. And I think that's really important because I think a lot of us don't necessarily think about that. And I think for the pandemic, I remember reading early on that there was a lot of fear around students whose only meals were coming from schools, right? So I think, can you expand a little bit more on kind of talking about, your kind of thoughts on financial hardship and food inequality? Because I think it's a really important conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you are totally right on spot on this. The pandemic has brought many challenges, but it has also brought into the light awakening important things, right? We always have to look at it as a silver lining. Now, you mentioned one of them being our health, just what matters the most. It didn't really mean whether you were financially wealthy or not. If you didn't have health, or if you don't have health, you have nothing. So health became a big deal, and that's good. The other thing you mentioned is that the people that experience underlying conditions till this day, right? We can look at back and say it's behind us. It's not. So let's get real on this. People that experience chronic conditions, whether it's blood pressure, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, cardiovascular disease, you name it. If they're exposed to COVID, they are more vulnerable to get hospitalized or, suffer other situations, right? In regards to the financial hardship, we're still experiencing challenges. I mean, a lot of people lost their jobs last year, and they're probably, if they're not 100% back, they're partially working, but either or, it is an impact. Now, this is a problem that it was already existing prior to COVID, right? There, the food insecurity, the food inequalities, and yes, when you're talking about underserved areas, all you need to do is do a drive-by. There really are no places where you can find healthy food, where you can buy healthy food.
Mhm.
And that's something that is it's impacting our communities. Now, why should we care if we're not there? Well, we should care because it impacts all of us, our healthcare system, right? And there are ways, though. The good news on all this is there are ways of eating healthy within a budget. And last year, actually, during COVID, I had this. I'm a recognized Live Well partner, and I participated with them in the Live Well Advance. I had a cooking demo where I showcase 3 meals, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that you can make with $5 for 4 people. Okay, so where did I go? I went shopping to the 99-cent store. Okay, those guys, they get their produce locally. Some of them are not necessarily locally, but for the most part, they are. So you get fruits and vegetables for 99 cents and local farmers. So there are ways of doing it. And then the other thing that ties into, you talk about school age children. That was a big deal during COVID. And right now, as they getting back to school, it's improving. Then again, we need to know that this is a lifestyle. It's not just because the pandemic is slowing down or is coming to an end, everything's going to be back to normal. They say the new normal is home cooking. Why? Because we save money and we can control what we cook. So again, my heart is very near and dear to helping these communities. Helping, everybody says, well, everybody eats, right? Yes, but teaching you how, right? I can tell you all day long what you need to eat, but how are we going to accomplish this?
Well, and I think something that you really touched on, and I'm highlighting it right below this bar,
Mhm.
is these myths of healthy eating, right? I remember I went to college in the Bay Area, right? So I had never really been to a, I don't even remember going to the grocery store ever as a kid. Right? I just magically opened the refrigerator and things were there. That being said, for most households, that's how it is. There's one parent that does the shopping. Wherever they're going to go is where they're going to go.
Mhm.
And then the children, you're just eating whatever is there, right? And, I joke about the rice, but we always knew there was a pot of rice in the kitchen and you would just cook it with whatever meat or whatever things were left over. Now, I
Mhm.
remember going up to the Bay Area, which at that time, tech and Silicon Valley and all this stuff. And I remember walking into a Whole Foods, and I think there's a comedian that does a bit about this, but she was talking about this like $10 sliced mango,
Oh,
right?
gosh,
And while
yeah.
that is a thing, right? A lot of people don't recognize what you said. You can go into certain dollar stores, you can find organic
Mhm.
produce, you can find local produce that's there. Now you're probably gonna have to eat it quickly, but I think that myth of healthy eating is really expensive. So let's get into it. Let's look at 5 things, right? That I think you can help, because I know there's a lot of women that watch my live stream. There is a lot of working parents. There's people that I think probably the majority of people that I know are trying to figure out, like, how do I eat healthy? How do I do something right away? Because everyone's also done this where I'm going to eat healthy,
Mhm.
I'm going to meal plan. They go to the store and then they realize juicing is really hard. I got to keep going to the grocery store every day. Or
And
the
it's
worst part
expensive
is,
too.
yeah,
Juicing
and
is
then you look at
expensive.
your fridge and you go, I don't feel like cooking, right? And then all of a sudden you're just in a routine. So let's talk about kind of the actions. And I think you have 5 for us, right? That we can kind of see
Correct.
today, to really kind of help people just start implementing stuff. And Sonia, I just want to take a moment for those of you guys that are just joining. I want to say hello, drop a hi in the comments, don't be shy. I did want to take a moment to share a little bit more, because I know Sonia's too nice, she won't do it. I wanted to highlight a little bit more about Sonia's company. because again, I think that this, this healthy eating, this idea of kind of having these opportunities, this is how you can get a hold of Sonia. So on her website, she's got tons and tons of content. There's different, ways that you can engage with her. And I think probably the most exciting thing for me that's on there is, it doesn't have to be this really hard thing. So as you start to look at her website, she's got kind of the story and she's got the chops to back it up, but she also has some amazing programs around corporate wellness, individual wellness, for parents and children and for seniors. So if you're maybe a company that is getting ready to bring back your employees, or even if you're a company and you go, hey, we want to do something fun. We want to do we want to send people food and do like a cooking class. If you go on here, tons of things in here. And she even has a pantry makeover that I thought was really, really cool. So I think for most of us, we just don't think about it. We know we need to do it. And if you're like me, you're going to try and do something and you're going to go, I don't have time. So guess what? That's why Sonia is here. So I'm going to take a second to highlight her because I know, a lot of us are really good at what we're doing and we just don't have the time to be like, here's my pitch. So I just wanted everyone to know, again, her email is scrolling across the bottom of our live stream today. So if you see something that's interesting, you want more information, reach out to Sonia. She'll hook you up. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just thought it was
No,
really
that's okay.
important that everyone knows. So let's talk about, number one. You talked about
Awesome.
it's simple. So let's talk about it. What do you mean by keeping it simple?
Well, as you all know, what is the first thing or one of the first things that we do when we're trying to eat healthy? We go online, we do some research, we try. The caveat of all that is we're overwhelmed with information. The keto diet, the low fat diet, the Mediterranean diet, and it's just overwhelming. So which one's good for me? Which one's going to bring me the results? Just keep it simple, okay? We all have to eat. We all eat 3, 4, 5, however many times a day you eat. Keep it simple. Just instead of counting calories and overwhelming yourself with percentages, eat more nutrient-dense food. What do I mean by that? Nutrient-dense food is real food. All your fruits and vegetables, or your whole grains, your legumes, your beans, your rice. You mentioned rice and beans. Rice and beans, they're good for you. We just have to have, the um, brown rice versus the white rice. There are things that we need to tweak, that we need to change, but you only know what you know. So that's how I come in. I can help to let you know which ones are the best things, right? So keeping it simple, eat more nutrient dense food. You can start with that. That's not a big deal, right? Like I said, we all have to eat every day. Less processed foods. You mentioned that earlier, Marisa, right? You lower your intake of sugary drinks or, sugary foods. So less processed foods. Anything that's not real is processed. So limit your intake of those. Drink more water. Okay, so everybody says, well, 8 glasses of water. There are different quantities, amounts out there. Just drink more water. Okay, start with 1 more glass. Maybe wake up in the morning. Simple habits. Simple. The key word is simple. Stress less. Okay, stress is not going away. Guess, guys, we're all busy. We're all working. California is typical. You ask someone, how are you doing? Oh, gosh, I'm so busy. Oh, I'm so tired. If you're busy, you're tired, you don't have energy, and you get stressed because you're tired. So it's a circle effect, right? So how do you stress less? Well, there are strategies to stress less: meditate, exercise, other things, right? And sleep. We don't think about sleep. It's like something we all need to do. Again, basic necessity. Go back to basics: eating, sleeping, drinking water. And that's number 1. So keeping it simple. Okay. Number 2.
Oh,
Oh,
I want to give, I want to say Gloria is watching. Gloria Zuazo is watching, and I want to give her a good morning because
Gloria Suazo. Awesome. I know her.
Yeah, she's watching. So I always like to highlight the people that are watching our feed and saying, hi, good morning. So number 2, you said keep it real, correct? Got it.
Keep it real. Yeah. So keep it simple. Simple as keeping it simple. We want to do something we can do so we don't fail. So make sure your goals are aligned with your capabilities. What do I mean by that? Okay, it means that if I've never run in my life, I am not going to go and register to a 5K and not train and just jump on it and say, I'm going to kill it, because that's not going to happen.
You mean I
Or it
shouldn't
could happen.
CrossFit? You mean I shouldn't just sign up and go for CrossFit and then never work out again? That's my
And,
CrossFit story, by the way. Never done CrossFit, went with a friend. Like, I've never been so tired. And I was like, no thanks. And I never went back. But I was like,
yeah.
I did CrossFit once. I bought a
And then you get traumatized, and that's exactly what happens. It's a bad experience. You get traumatized, and you don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
Well, same thing applies with food, right? If you've never eaten veggies in your life, I don't expect you to eat a pound of broccoli. Okay, so keep it real. What are your goals? This ties into your why. What do you want to do? Is it about weight loss? Not for everybody. Maybe it's just about sleeping better. Maybe it's about just feeling more energized. So keep it very basic and real, whatever works for you. For example, walking, adding a walk of 15 minutes a day, drinking 2 glasses of water, things like that. So that would be number two, keeping it very real. Okay, there you go. Then number three, plan and prepare. Okay, they always say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that applies in business, but it also applies in our personal life. You do not show up to a meeting without being prepared, right? You don't expect that from anybody. Well, you don't expect that for yourself, because you will not succeed in what your goals are. What do I mean by that? How can we prepare better? Well, it starts really in your grocery cart. You mentioned it earlier, Marisa. When you go into a grocery store, right, and it's overwhelming and then you're hungry, I mean, there are things that you can do. By the way, I do have that service. I do have a grocery smart shopping trip where I could go with you, and we can go over reading labels and all that good stuff. But basically, it starts in your grocery cart. If you buy it, you'll eat it. So whatever you put in that grocery cart is going to go into your mouth or into your family's meals. And so that's part of it. Pantry inventory before you go out and shop. We're trying to save money here. We're trying to save money. We're trying to save time, and we're trying to make things easy. So what is it?
Even not going to the grocery store when you're hungry. I've made that mistake of going when I'm actually hungry, like before dinner, and ending up with all of this stuff that
you don't need. Yeah.
Well, it ends up in the freezer and we don't eat it, right? Or
right.
it's like I'm just gonna eat this as I'm shopping. That's how bad it, like I know that a lot of people are on the go, but I think all of the stuff that you're talking about is not like, it's just this creation of an idea and a process and someone to guide you. And I think, for many of you that are watching, a health coach, you go, I don't know what this is. Why do I need it? Well, it might be something as simple as having Sonia come in and look at what's in your pantry and saying, hey, we could replace these options with these that would be X amount healthier for your body. Or, hey, we could look at creating a sustainable habit tracker where people could, I think left to our own devices, accountability is a really, really hard thing. In business, people hire coaches. I think for health, it's just as important. So I think you were also saying something around scheduling time to work out, et cetera. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Because again, we all kind of know what we need to do, but how do we do it? Accountability is a big deal, right? And if we don't have the time and if we're so busy, well, put it in a schedule, put it in your calendar. All of us that are sitting more, put a reminder on your phone or in your Google Calendar every 20 minutes. Ding, ding, ding. Get up, go to the bathroom, go for water. Don't go for food. The walk to the refrigerator is actually closer when you're at home. So don't walk to the refrigerator. Go get some water. But those reminders, and now that the gyms are semi-open, or maybe you don't necessarily want to go back to the gym, you want to be more outdoors. Kind of push yourself to do that. Put it in schedule it. Schedule time with the family. A walk with the dog. A walk to the park with the kids. A bike ride. We live in a beautiful city. Our weather is perfect. So all of that is doable.
And I think what you said is really important for a lot of people. They showed the statistics of people during the pandemic going out and walking simply just because they were tired of being home. And so more people were moving than previous before. But I think it's really easy as things go back to normal for people to not continue the habit, right? So I think one of the most important things that you told me, which is I think the next step, which is listening to your body. And I think that's something that we all forget to do when we were, and I think there's like scientific studies about flow state and work, right? So you can, the joke is like sometimes you can sit down and it can feel like 5 hours and it's 5 minutes, or sometimes it's 5 minutes, but it feels like 5 hours, right? We get stuck in this vortex. So expand on that concept for me a little bit of listening to your body.
Of course. Well, our body is a wisdom design. It's miraculous, right? We have all these cells that are sensors. And you think about a car, for example, right? A car is built with a dashboard which has all these lights, the check engine, the when the brakes are worn down or the tire needs air. So we have all that, and we take care of our cars, right? Because they're so important. They take us places. But the car, if the car fails and goes down, you can replace it, but we can't replace our body. So it's really, really important that we start listening to our body because it'll tell us things. For example, when you are thirsty, right? Sometimes because we don't get into the habit of listening, we don't realize how much we need that water. By the time you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. That's just the consequence. That's the cue that comes out. Or maybe when we think when we're stressed, right? Look at what are the triggers when we're really stressed, or we're dreading sending that email, or we're dreading finishing that project. We get stressed. I'm just gonna go to the fridge and see what I can
I
snack
I
on.
am guilty of ending up with probably 6 or 7 different beverages just because I might go, so it used to be food, right? I'd go down to the kitchen, I'd be on a meeting, I've had my AirPods in, and I just kind of mindlessly consume.
Mindless eating.
And
Yeah.
it was really interesting. There's a woman by the name of Natasha Josefowicz. She's an older woman, and she was talking about the science of like when you open a bag of chips, why you eat the whole thing. The brain wants completion. So you
Mhm.
have to remove, that's why you have to portion. That's why you have to pull stuff out of the bag, put it away, because the brain wants to finish. So even like if you've ever been at a restaurant and you get a dessert and you don't even want to eat the whole thing, but you just keep eating it, there's like a science to that. So you have to pattern interrupt it. So I think everything that you're saying is so on track. And I think, for you guys that are going to watch this in replay, I think listening to your body, what Sonia is telling you is really important. By the way, listening to your body costs you how much?
A lot.
$0. It costs you $0 and you
Right.
gain so much. So I think the last piece, which I think is really, really important for people, is again making it fun, right? And I think that's what we forget. Like it can
Right.
be fun. It's a chore, but it can also be fun. So let's expand on that. Tell me kind of what you've seen, because I know that you do, coaching and you do programs and you've done this stuff with kids and families. And I think it'd be fun to do with a bunch of roommates too, right? So that you have a
Right.
team of people. But tell me a little bit more about how you kind of can make things fun. I'd love to hear that.
Okay, thank you. And then by the way, one tip or trick when you're eating dessert, you're right. We're prone to eat the whole thing. Why not? So there's a 3-bite rule. Okay. They say that if you only do 3 bites, you'll leave that dessert alone. Why? Because the first bite is the best thing that ever happened to you, right? It's like that discovery. The second bite is not as good as the first one. Therefore, the third bite, there's no reason to go any fourth bite. So just a 3-bite rule, believe me, it works. It works with chocolate cake, apple pie, whatever it is that is dessert.
That's incredible. I love that. I'm going to remember that forever. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank
So in regards to making it fun, here's the deal. If we are too rigid and strict, these are not fad diets. Anything that I'm talking about for you today, they're not fad diets. They're not restrictive. You just have to make it work with your lifestyle, with your what you like to eat, what you like to do, how you like to move. You don't have to be a sports person. It's what do you enjoy? Do you enjoy hiking? Did you enjoy going on a walk? We work with that. Okay. So make it fun for you. What is that you enjoy doing? And then, of course, enjoy being around others, accountability. If you have a family, make those activities with the whole family. Let's say if you are a mom with kids, and if you have a problem with the kids eating healthier, or even yourself, let's have a challenge, right? Let's do the Eat the Rainbow challenge. Let's see who eats more colorful fruits and vegetables. Let's do the hidden ingredient and get creative. So let's just do something that is playful, because at the end of the day, if we don't have fun with it, if we get bored, we're not going to do it. So there are a lot of things that we can do to engage, either food challenges, moving challenges, cooking together, enjoying music. It's just lifestyle things that we do on daily basis.
Now here's a question for you, because I think a lot of parents are struggling with, um, and I find myself doing this as well, right? Our children are complaining, oh, I can't sleep, or oh, I have anxiety, or all this. And then if I really unwound, and so one of these things that I started unwinding was, okay, so she's not getting coffee at Starbucks, but she's getting this thing that has green coffee extract, which is just like coffee.
It
Or
has caffeine. It has caffeine.
drink a Red Bull or a Monster. And I'm like, well, you're not anxious. You can't sleep because you're having all this caffeine and your body can't handle it. So what I thought was really particularly interesting for a lot of the parents that are kind of, watching this, and, you got to think, where if your kids are in sports, you're on the go, you're not paying attention, you're just grabbing what is convenient. What I thought was really interesting is there was a quote here around, what a child eats affects their learning, behavior, weight, attitude, self-esteem, and immune system. Now, I would add, what a grown-up eats also affects learning, behavior, weight, attitude, self-esteem. And
Absolutely.
I think this is a universal message. And I think what some of the services that you offer, just to go through a nutrition plan for a family, or just to kind of get a group of families together, I think this is a really, really important and timely thing, because there are so many studies that are coming around foods that help you focus, and foods that disrupt you, and foods that can create some natural serotonin in the body. And I think what happens is as kids kind of go through this processed food thing, right? They want junk, or they want whatever. There's a way to integrate healthy things. When my daughter was little, I would put into her quesadilla, I would blend cauliflower with the cheese.
Oh, yes.
And so I would hide, she didn't she wouldn't eat vegetables. And so I had to hide it. Right. But I think any of these things are something that you could help, somebody with. And correct me if I'm wrong. You have a couple of programs that are, workshops for families, virtual cooking classes. And I believe you have a 6-week program, correct, that you do with people to help get them on track. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, because I really, again, it's very near and dear to my heart. For people that have kids, and a lot of the kids nowadays, well, they were before, but nowadays it's worse because we eat a lot of processed food, picky eaters. So yes, there are a lot of tips and tricks that we can implement to help them eat healthier. And in regards to the 6-week program, okay, so this is a program that I developed, but it is not about weight loss. You will lose weight because that's the end result. But the idea is for you to achieve optimum health and wellness. And it includes a detoxification, which is cleaning your body of all the fast food and impurities and toxins that we've experienced throughout our whole life, basically, in a natural way. This is not, again, a fad diet. This is eating clean. You hit the reset button, you clean the closet, and then you bring the new clothes in, because it's okay to start eating healthy. But if you do not hit the reset button, and if you do not clean your body, then those nutrients are not going to be absorbed in your body and to the optimum. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that I see is people spend years abusing their body with sugar and processed. I'm guilty of this, right? Like I am very much a yo-yo diet. I think there was a study that was released and it said women between the ages of 25 and 40 on average will do like a start stop of
Oh, yeah.
diet, exercise planning, right? So when we were looking at that data and I was spending some time trying to figure it out, it's really interesting to me how people will do things for a week and go, it's not working, right? And it's kind of like, well, if you spent 5 or 6 or 7 years creating an unhealthy environment in your body,
Habits.
the
Yes.
expectation that in a week you're going to be fine, I think is really unrealistic. So this is about creating sustainable change, number one. Number two,
Hmm.
doing it in a way where you can be, it's not punitive, right? Eating healthy for the
Absolutely.
body, what we see, type 2 diabetes, blood pressure, all of these different things, right? Actually, it was really funny. My husband was telling me at one point he was eating too much meat, and we were doing too much stuff, and he was getting kind of gout or like
Mhm.
vision was getting blurry. And we now he does like a green juice cleanse every day. He does a green shake. I can't do it because it's got like tons of kale and stuff in it.
Mhm.
I will give him credit that he recognizes, okay, these are the nutrients we need. So, for those of you guys that have tuned in today and, given us your time, I know people have been coming in and out, which I think is great because it just tells me that this makes sense. I want to kind of recap where we are from where we started to where we are right now. So Sonia came in, obviously she's worked for Fortune 500 companies in technology sales and really felt a closeness to the brand that she's created called Sonia's Healthy Corner. And it's been kind of a passion and purpose-driven project that really comes near and dear to us, right? Where the Jacobs Center is located, I went to elementary school right around the corner. So I went to Meade Elementary, I went to Choyas, and I can tell you, we don't always make the best choices, but it's also like it's what's available to us. And so I think part of it is dispelling these myths around expensive. It's not too expensive. Sonia broke down ways that we can eat healthy by buying stuff from the dollar store, right? So if you're going to spend $12 on a chicken nugget meal, she actually broke down how they were able to do a breakfast for a family of four for $5. Was it $5 a person?
Absolutely. Yeah.
$5.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, $5 each. Yeah.
$5 each. And then we kind of went over these myths of healthy eating. So I'm going to recap them really quick with her. So, the first one was to keep it simple. The second was to keep it real, plan and prepare, listen to your body, and make it fun.
Make it fun.
And Sonia, with that, I think we've put the email on the bottom so people can get a hold of you. We've put in your website so they can kind of search and learn more. Is there anything else that you want to let people know about what you're doing?
Well, no, thank you for the opportunity, Marisa, of course. And yeah, just don't stress. I think we're all very stressed with what has happened in our new normal, the way we operate. And this would be adding more stress to our lives that we don't need. So I would just invite you to focus on what you can control. And what you can control is how you eat, how you move, and how you think. And all of those are interconnected for your health.
So I would always, as always, I would love to hear from anybody on these live streams. Typically what will happen is over a 7-day period, people will get the stream and they'll see it and they'll comment. Take a moment to comment if you heard something that resonated with you or what you're going to do. For me, I happened to go finally plunk down some money and I got water.
For you.
And I've been trying to just drink this a day. I've definitely seen these really big jugs, but this is about what I can handle. And I'm also,
You're keeping it real, Marisa. You're keeping it real.
I am not making a pledge to drink 5 gallons of water.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to start small because those small changes have big impacts and real impacts on our life and our health. And with
transformational.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm Marisa Friedman. I am known as the Executive Cat Herder. I am here with one of the Connect All at the Jacobs Center participants, Health Corner. Sonia Cervantes was so gracious today to come in and to just spend some time hanging out and educating us. I think this is the key of how we do this in the community. It's the way that we get the word out about who we are and what we're doing. And I want to commend you because I know that it is hard as, women in the industry, but also like the pressure of being a business owner, the pressure of having all of this stuff is pretty intense, right? So we spend a lot of time trying to, stay healthy and not stressed out. And I commend you for taking on this challenge, because I feel
Thank
like
you.
so many people could benefit, not only from this, but just having a sense of, okay, this is something I can do. This is something that I can work on. And I want to thank you so much for giving us your time this morning, Sonia. Have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
Marissa. Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing day.
Thanks.
Stay healthy and happy.